המרצה הבא שלנו הוא קריס רדוש, שיתאר לנו את עתיד הסייבר העולמי ואיך כולנו צריכים להיערך אליו. קריס, the stage is yours.
Good morning. Welcome. Thank you to the Ness team for the gracious opportunity for me to come in and be able to talk to you guys. I really appreciate it. Unfortunately, I did not bring my AI, so I will only have one wardrobe. I will not change wardrobe multiple times. It's amazing what the technology can do. So before I get into it, a little bit about me, just to set some context for you guys. So Chris Radosh, I am the COO of ESG, Enterprise Security Group, formerly Symantec and Carbon Black. I joined Broadcom about 2.5 years ago. I came in October of 2023, and I came to help what was Symantec at the time before the VMware acquisition find a new strategy and start to turn a corner as they had struggled within Broadcom for some time. So in the industry, I have somewhat of a reputation as being a turnaround specialist. So I like to go into situations where strategies aren't really working, where there's some struggle, some problems, and help that organization find its footing again so that they can find success. So that's one of the reasons that I joined Symantec. I had the great fortune early on through the VMware acquisition to also bring Carbon Black into ESG. And we also got a great leader in Jason Rolliston, who is the general manager of ESG. He was the former CEO of Carbon Black. And Jason and I have spent quite a bit of time over 2024 laying out a strategy on how to take the business forward. And so what I wanted to do this morning is share a little bit of that strategy with you guys, as well as some of the innovation that we've been doing in the near term as we turn the ship and we move into this new strategy. So by way of introduction to the strategy, I want you guys to keep in mind 3 things that we've been very focused on. 3 separate transformations that are necessary for us to succeed as an organization. That first transformation was a business transformation where we changed some of the way that we do business within Broadcom. The second transformation is a transformation that's ongoing today, which is a product transformation. And then the third transformation is one that we're embarking on this year, which is a cultural transformation with the existing team. We're bringing together 2 organizations over the last year, the Symantec organization and the Carbon Black organization. And we're also evolving the culture within our organization inside of Broadcom. So those 3 transformations are key to us accomplishing our strategy. So let me start with some context. So in the market, we've been seeing some change. We've been seeing some trends emerge in terms of not what cyber criminals are attacking, but moving more towards who they are attacking. It once was a time where everyone was after very large enterprise, have the concentration of wealth, concentration of intellectual property, and most of attacks were done by nation-state actors or very sophisticated criminals. This, over the last couple of years, has become an industrialization. And now what we're seeing is a pivot away from these large organizations under threat to being organizations that are much smaller. Mid-market organizations, small companies, small businesses, mainly because these organizations over time have thought that they were secure through being obscure. That's no longer the case. With the rise of AI and automation and infrastructure that's available at industrial scale to the adversaries, they're now very focused on attacking mid-market organizations and small businesses. In addition to that, we're starting to see nation-state actors spend more and more energy going after these smaller companies and smaller organizations because they are links in a supply chain. So think about it this way. If you're a large auto manufacturer, you probably have a lot of money. You have a lot of investment in cybersecurity. So you are very secure. But your suppliers down the supply chain may not have those resources. In fact, some of those suppliers may not be very savvy when it comes to security in general, making them a soft target for an adversary. That adversary can attack them to disrupt the larger supply chain and impact the larger organizations. So we're starting to see this more and more. Ransomware as a service. Again, this is industrialized, so it's very easy for somebody to make a small investment and attack very broadly. AI, as AI becomes prolific in the environment, this is something that can be used faster than most defenses can respond. And what we're seeing is that these mid-market organizations, about a third of them actually don't have any security protocols in place. About a third of them don't actually have a risk management framework. And about 2/3 of them have no security awareness training available to their staff. This makes them a very easy target. There we go. In advance, yeah. So the adversaries are constantly obsoleting our technology. Everything that we develop, they immediately attack and try to disrupt. We built Signature AV in the 90s, but the adversaries worked their way around it. Then we started to think about reputation and behavior analysis, and we look at sandboxes to counter these threats. And that's just on the AV side. The same thing's happening on every front, with web, with email, with DLP, led to the rise of EDR and forensics. The industry requires constant innovation. This is one thing about security that is different about other products. So you think about if you manufacture just an average widget, all you have to worry about is some competing company who sees an opportunity to make a better widget. But if you're developing cybersecurity technology, you're in a situation where not only do you have to worry about a competitor looking for innovation around the edge to displace you, but from day one, you have an adversary who's looking to obsolete and undermine your technology. So for those of us in cyber, we can't rest. We have to continuously innovate. And one of the problems that we've observed in the industry is that there is a dilemma on how you allocate resources. You can allocate all of your resources to innovation, at which point in time, you will then need to shift some of that resource to maintaining all the innovation that you built. And then at some later point in time, you have competitors who have out-innovated you, and so then you need to spend time fighting that innovation that they're doing and try to counter it in the market. And so there's a vicious circle that you can get into with how you do investment. For us, one of the things that we have struggled with is the weight of our portfolio and the breadth of that portfolio. We did a tremendous amount of innovation in the early days. We did a lot of acquisitions. And then as we went into the acquisition with Broadcom, we were somewhat limited in the investment resources that we had available to us. And so we had some difficult choices to make. Those choices that we made were to support the existing portfolio. And we somewhat came unbalanced. What we're trying to do now with a new strategy is move back to a way where we rebalance the amount of investment that we make in innovation, the investment that we make in maintaining what we've built, and then an investment in what we do to constantly keep our products competitive. So let me take a step back. Until 2025, we were 3 different businesses, and each of those businesses was serving a unique persona. So as you see on the screen behind me, there's data protection, endpoint, and network. Each of these businesses existed as one in themselves. And they all came to Symantec through acquisition. And so internally, there was a financial incentive for those businesses to invest solely in their products and to solely invest in features for their products. And on the enterprise side, we were very focused on investing to serve a specific type of customer in large enterprise that was interested in very detailed technology oriented in one of these stacks. This structure was aligned with the way large enterprises were structured. And at Broadcom, as Symantec was integrated into Broadcom, one of the things that we were forced to do was focus very heavily on a small subset of very large enterprises. And that further siloed our focus from an engineering standpoint. We've decided that that strategy is obsolete. What we see in the market as we go forward is something we're calling the progressive enterprise. And this is a strategy that we rolled out in 2025 and that we'll be rolling out as we go through 2026. The progressive enterprise takes a different look at things. There's a different structural order to the nature of what we see in the progressive enterprise. Departments are not organized simply around technologies. They're organized around teams. In the progressive enterprise, talent is at a premium. Budget is at a premium. These are things that are precious and need to be resourced appropriately. We see increasing collaboration within the progressive enterprise. We all know that the cloud has created an environment where microservices are available all the time and in any way. And that has trained a generation of technology workers to expect that everything's in the product and that you should be able to leverage this technology and the services in any product. This is a different way of working, and this is something that we have to adapt to. So in the future, we're looking at customers that are more integrated in structure, that have fewer employees. The people who run the software and technology in these customers are going to be more general in nature, no longer very specifically trained on one specific technology, much more agile. In addition, tool sprawl has gotten out of control. There are so many different tools and technologies available that most of our customers are at a breaking point. Every tool comes with a hidden cost, a commitment and a cost to operate that tool. These tools are costly, they're labor intensive. These are things that are becoming restrictive for the overall enterprise to keep pace with. We have had to make an adjustment internally. What we're doing now is being more focused on integration, collaboration, and bringing our technology together to best serve this type of customer. It's one thing for us to stay on the forefront of emerging threats, but we also need to understand and develop security tools that help you. Reducing breach risk against threats like AI-driven attacks, identity abuse, cloud compromise, you need tools that separate the signal from the noise. Consolidating vendors, consolidating tools, those things cut costs. You need to be able to do more with less. With fewer tools and a unified platform, you can increase your efficiency, especially when you have a limited team. You need to be able to protect data everywhere. You need to be consistent, multi-layered security controls that allow you to protect data at rest, in motion, in the cloud, and on-prem. So let me talk a little bit about some of the things that we've done recently as we've adjusted to this new strategy. Adaptive protection. Adaptive protection is a great example of something that we developed to address a new problem. Living off the land attacks are something that's been a big issue and remain a big issue. The difficulty with defending against these attacks is they use common systems that should be operating in the environment and are not suspect. The difficulty with defending against them is that these tools are doing what they're designed to do. Adaptive protection monitors an environment. It monitors behavior, and it watches for illegitimate use of legitimate tools. It detects these behaviors, and it uses artificial intelligence to help you develop a response. It can block or reduce access to some of these applications so that they can't be leveraged by an attacker. It is able to identify these legitimate behaviors in your organization and point them out to you when they're being abused. This way, you can configure or automate policy to update automatically. Incident prediction. This is an interesting use of AI. So the cool thing about Symantec is we've actually been using AI and machine learning for years and years and years, way before it was popular, way before it entered the common nomenclature. So incident prediction makes use of the same logic that runs in LLMs. So in these large language models, what they actually are a statistical engine, a probability engine. And what it does is it allows the language model to predict the next word in a text string, in an email, or whatever it is, based on statistical analysis and probabilities. So from an engineering standpoint, we looked at that and we said, okay, well, if you can do that with a sentence, you can do that with an attack chain. We, over the last 40 years, have observed a tremendous amount of attack chain behavior. And so what we did is we took the same probability engine that we use in large language models, and we put it in a tool that basically looks at behavior, and when it observes, is that a signal, the flashing lights? So the prediction of the next step in the attack chain is simply like the prediction for the next word in a sentence. And what we can do with near certainty is when we observe a certain behavior and it's run against the probabilities, we know what the next few steps are in an attack chain. And incident prediction can tell you what's going to happen and allow you to respond or even to automate a response. Carbon Black Threat Tracer. So Carbon Black invented EDR and the process tree. What we've done with Threat Tracer is we've taken that another step further with integrations across our broader portfolio. Now what you can do is you can use Threat Tracer to get the next big extension of a process tree. It's a better, more flexible tool that still incorporates more information built on the original concept. But now, network, data, email, etc., can all be ingested and visualized in Threat Tracer. It reduces the context switching that's necessary when you're doing investigations. This is a great new product that we've put out since the inclusion of Carbon Black in the portfolio. It eases hands-off and collaboration. It's more transparent for those running the investigation. Another big challenge we hear from customers is the need to consolidate security tools and reduce cost. Enterprises, especially at the high end, have been very, very siloed over the years. Many consoles, many tools. They're willing to spend a lot of money. But you know what? The mid-market, where we're extending ourselves again, is resource constraint. These days, we want to make it easier for people to get more leverage out of less technology. AI can do a lot here. It can help make it easier for team members. But these are the things that we want to continue to invest in. Security operations teams need to prevent and detect and respond and adapt policies in an ongoing fashion. including executing at a high level across the attack chain. This is a continuous cycle of understanding the attack scenario with added context. This future integration is important given the fact that people will be acting in a more general fashion. You need better integration. You need broader span in less tools. We need their tools to work together, and so this is a major focus for us. That's why we're currently building a single agent. I know you guys have probably heard this in the past. This is something that's been talked about. This is one of the gold standards. But this is what we're working on, and we're going to see it through. You'll be able to easily adopt the ESG products without installing additional agents, with a single console to manage the agent, and will eventually have shared features across all the products, including auto upgrades, tamper protection, and restart rescheduling, password settings, device posture, and more. We've done a large number of portfolio integrations. This is one of the things that we spent the most time on in 2025. So in early 25, we kicked off a summit that brought together all of the engineering leadership, all the product management leadership, and a bunch of resources from the program management team. And we laid out a very detailed approach into the integrations that we needed to do between the two products. I look back on those days. It was a very challenging time in that I think we had 4 different endpoint technologies in 8 different flavors in the market, and none of the stuff really talked together. So what we've done over the course of 2025 is spent a tremendous amount of time doing integrations. So you see on the slide, the single endpoint security agent is the consolidated single agent that's going to enable customers to install any of the agent-based products. Threat Intelligence API is now enabled for all said customers to leverage the security telemetry from the Global Intelligence Network to enrich the SOC workflows. It includes all of the intel from Carbon Black. Our Threat Intelligence, or the Consolidated Reputation Services, again, including the Carbon Black Cloud. It's going to provide a lot of extensibility for customers. Sandbox as a service brings together the Carbon Black Cloud and the Symantec Cynic Sandbox. And again, we're combining all the threat intelligence. These systems provide customers with both Symantec and Carbon Black, from Carbon Black, additional intelligence and a wider view of the threat landscape. A special note here on Google. So as part of the effort to enable further integration of our products, we rebuilt our entire portfolio from the ground up on Google Cloud. Google is a super strong partner for Broadcom in general, super strong partner for ESG. With their commitment to networking, it's such a big part of our cloud offering now that it's really something that has enhanced our technology. Our partnership with Google allows us to leverage modern cloud infrastructure. And the great thing about this is that it frees us up from a resource perspective, in that none of our resources need to focus on building and managing cloud infrastructure. Google handles all of that for us. Looking at the challenges of protecting data, there's data everywhere. Data sprawled on-prem, in the cloud, in third parties. It moves across SaaS apps, cloud services, email, devices that we don't control. Legacy tools weren't designed for this world. And hybrid work, since the pandemic particularly, has really blown the perimeter apart. You add to that insider and AI-driven threats, and these threats are rising faster. You can see every couple of months We're getting a new version of ChatGPT or some other AI engine. The pace at which these things are changing is very, very challenging to keep up with. At the same time as the threat landscape is shifting, we're also experiencing a shift in the way business operates using AI tools. I bet if I ask you guys how many of you are using AI in the workplace, every hand will go up. I know for a fact that within Broadcom, we're actually being pressed to embrace ways that we can use AI. Everyone across the organization is being asked to determine how we can work it into their workflows. So there's going to be great benefits. We all know there's going to be great benefits that come with this. Efficiency, the ability to optimize things very quickly, to scale, to do the work of multiple people with one. But on the flip side, there are a number of challenges. You have to ask yourself, what data am I offering to this tool? Where is that data going? How is it being used? Is it even legal that I'm letting this tool use this data? We've built a great set of capabilities in our DLP and CASB products to understand and take action on what's happening in this environment relative to AI. The first thing you need to do is discover how it's being used. I did this with my own team internally. I asked them, I said, Google has opened up Gemini for us inside of Broadcom. And I asked them, I said, how are you using Gemini? And I was astounded at the different ways that people had proposed to use Gemini. This isn't something that we have rules built yet to understand. I mean, how do you determine what's good, what's bad? Organizations are still struggling with this. Once you figure out how it's being used, where it's being used, you have to analyze what's actually being done. What data is actually going into it? Where's that data going? Then you need the capability to monitor that data. When is it being triggered? When is that data moving in and out? And then ultimately, you want to be able to set policy around it. Now that you know what data is at risk and where it's being pushed, you can determine how do you want to control that. We've built a lot of capability into DLP, and some of this you'll hear later today, to handle just this problem. Why Symantec and Carbon Black? So this is when you know that a marketing team built the presentation, because they want me to sell a little bit. I think most of you guys know this, but I'll talk through it real quick. We're built on a strong legacy, going way back. With the addition of Carbon Black, we picked up the original Bit9 code, so application control, it goes way back, almost to the dawn of the Symantec days. Symantec, obviously, anti-malware, AV, goes back to when I was like 10 years old. So we have a pretty amazing history. Vantu invented DLP. Blue Coat invented proxy. So we have a long, long history and a legacy that we're very proud of. As part of that strong legacy, we have a really broad portfolio across cloud and on-prem. Across all these areas, there are very few players in the market that have the scope of product across endpoint network, data, DLP, and various different pieces of the puzzle than we do. We cover a wide range of use cases, and we're bringing together everything and making it better over time, especially as customers embrace the consolidation of tools. Along with shifting our products to Google Cloud, we're leveraging the Global Intelligence Network to deliver insight about recent attacks. You can see the stats behind me there. Our team's been doing this for a really long time and have a tremendous depth of experience that they bring to the table. They also have been on the front lines discovering some of the most substantial threats over the past 40 years And then I'll say a little bit about this. As you can see from the quote from our CEO, we're very focused on investing in innovation. I was waiting for the laughter. This is actually something that I wanted to hit. The quote is a serious quote, and I know there's a lot of talk about Broadcom and about us specifically, ESG, no longer investing. Well, as the COO of the organization, I manage the P&L, and I can tell you that we spend roughly 23% of our revenue on engineering. It's in excess of $250 million a year. I promise you, we are investing in the technology. We are pursuing innovation. It's just taken us some time to figure out what the right strategy is and to understand, more importantly, how to execute that strategy in a large portfolio company like Broadcom. That's been the biggest challenge. And you will hear a tremendous amount of good things about the product from the product guys. What I'm here to tell you is that we are committed to you, the customers. We're committed to the market. We have a good strategy. We're investing. We're innovating. And we're going to continue to do so more aggressively as we move into 26. We continue to be a proven partner to our customers. We continue to do a ton of external testing. We are engaging the analyst community. We haven't been a favorite of the analysts for many years. And the criticism that we've gotten from the analyst has been warranted in that if you go back to the beginning, I told you we were very focused on a small number of very large enterprise customers. We have decided to change that strategy. Going back to what Zohar was saying about the Magnificent Seven, the criminals are no longer after the gold in Fort Knox. They're after the little guy. That's where we started. We started just trying to take care of the little guys. And that's what we're going to do now. We want to provide the enterprise security that we spent the last 10 or 15 years focused on. We want to provide that enterprise security for everyone. And so we're very, very focused on greater integration, greater simplicity, less complexity, lower overhead, a better experience, greater leverage. All of those things are what we're trying to do going forward. We want to be part of the Magnificent Seven, and no, not the Google, Apple. Of course, I guess I wouldn't be disappointed if Broadcom stock was included in the Magnificent Seven, but we want to be part of the Magnificent Seven from the 60s movie back in the day, there to protect the little guy. Those are some of the things that you'll see coming from us, some of the things to expect in 2026. Going back to the discussion of transformations that I started with, we are in the midst of our product transformation. We're refocusing what we're doing from an engineering standpoint. We're making a lot of changes internally to make sure that we are deploying the investment that we're making in the right place for the right customers. Thank you.